Listeners, you know the drill. We dive deep into some really fascinating books, pull out the good stuff, and hope you can walk away with something new.
Always exciting to see what we uncover.
Right. Okay. So today, we're all about Greenlights, the book by Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
Had to, right?
Of course.
But in all seriousness, it's not your typical autobiography.
Definitely not. It's more like part life story, part, like philosophy lesson, you know?
It's kind of like a mix. And we get these journal entries, too. Super personal.
His voice really comes through in the writing. I think that's what makes it such a fun read.
Yeah, it's engaging.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was just sitting down with him, just chatting over, I don't know, a glass of sweet tea or something.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into this whole Greenlights thing. It's, like, everywhere in the book.
McConaughey's whole philosophy on, like, seeing and grabbing opportunities, even when things are tough.
He's saying, like, even those red lights can become green lights. You just got to approach them, you know, with the right mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Like setbacks and roadblocks, they can turn into opportunities.
And it's cool how he connects this to his own life.
His background, totally unconventional. I think that shaped his whole outlook.
From the start, he talks about his family. Lots of love, but also lots of conflict.
Parents divorced twice, remarried 3 times. Whoa.
Seriously. Imagine those family dinners.
Wow. That's a lot of change.
One story that stuck with me was about his parents arguing, like these blowouts, but then passionate making up afterward.
Classic red light turning green. He uses that traffic light analogy a lot. Green for go, yellow for caution, and red for stop and think.
Sometimes, you know, those red lights can take you to unexpected places.
Totally. Like detours, you know, they aren't always bad.
Makes you wonder how all that influenced him growing up.
Seems like it built up this resilience in him. He finds the good, even in tough times.
Oh, and the Little Mr. Texas story.
Oh, yeah, the one where his mom always told him he won, even though, like, the picture shows him as runner-up.
Exactly.
Classic, audacious existentialism, McConaughey style. You create your own reality, define your own wins.
So, like, I might not have the trophy, but I'm still a winner, you know, in my mind.
Exactly. It's about not letting the outside world, like, dictate how you feel about yourself. You have the power.
Okay, before we go on, quick reminder for our listeners, if you're enjoying this Greenlights deep dive, hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. We love hearing from you.
Yeah, thanks for the support.
Okay, back to McConaughey. His path to becoming an actor wasn't exactly a straight line either.
Nope, he took some detours, spent a year in Australia as an exchange student, then came back and actually tried law school for a bit.
He was not a fan of law school.
Not at all. It's like he was searching for something, but couldn't quite put his finger on it.
Then, boom, this random encounter leads him to film school.
Funny how life works, right? Those little, like, chance events can change everything.
It's like a green light, just appears out of nowhere.
Sometimes, yeah.
So, what do you think it was about acting that really grabbed him?
I think for him, it was a way to express himself. Explore different parts of who he is, connect with people on a deeper level, you know, through emotions. Plus, his acting background really shows in his writing. It's super engaging, kind of dramatic. You feel like you're right there with him.
Now, let's talk about that rom-com phase. He was at the top, making bank, but then something shifted.
I wasn't feeling creatively fulfilled. It's like he hit a wall, you know?
So he did something pretty bold. He started turning down those big money rom-com offers.
Yeah, he was waiting for roles that would actually, like, challenge him, push him as an actor.
Easy to stay comfortable, but he took a risk.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the Greenlights. Sometimes you got to say no to what's easy so you can say yes to what you really want.
He wanted to do things his way, even if it meant going against the grain.
Yeah, and that's what makes his story so interesting. He didn't follow the typical path. He made his own.
It shows that we can create our own green lights, you know? We're not just stuck waiting for them.
Exactly. It's about seeing those opportunities even when they look like challenges.
Makes you think, you know, what's something you've been putting off because it seems too hard? Maybe that's your green light.
Right. Maybe it's time to embrace that struggle, see what happens.
But then there's the flip side. How do we know when a red light is really a stop sign, not just a detour?
That's the tough part, because sometimes giving up is the wrong move. We need to know when to keep pushing.
McConaughey seems to say, you got to listen to your gut. Trust that feeling.
And be open to the idea that what looks bad might actually be a good thing in disguise.
Like that audacious existentialism again. You have the power to change your situation.
Absolutely.
All right, before we move on, quick reminder. If you're digging this Greenlights chat, hit that subscribe button for the Book Nook podcast and leave a review if you're feeling it.
And we'll dive more into McConaughey's philosophy next. One thing that really struck me was how much he talks about living honestly, like truly yourself, and embracing, like, all of life, the good and the bad.
Yeah, he's not hiding his flaws.
Yeah.
He's open about his doubts, times when he messed up.
He talks about getting away with, getting caught, and getting wets while trying to dance between the raindrops.
Wow, that's a pretty vivid image.
Right. It's like life's messy, you can't control everything, just got to roll with it.
Embrace the chaos.
Exactly. And he has this saying, knowing when to deal with life's challenges and getting relative with the inevitable.
Those are like those little bumper sticker philosophies he's got.
Yeah, short, but kind of deep,
They make you think. Like, stay present, accept what you can't change, focus on what you can.
Totally. Now, there's this thing he calls outlaw logic. I'm curious about that.
What did you make of that?
Yeah, like what's that all about?
Well, he describes it as this way of thinking that questions everything, the rules, the way things are supposed to be.
Like a rebel, but with ideas.
Right. Thinking outside the box, trusting your instincts, even if they're a little different.
So it's not about just like breaking rules to break them. It's more about knowing when to bend them, maybe even make your own.
Yeah, finding that balance, respecting tradition, but also blazing your own trail.
Which goes back to the whole Greenlights thing, being open to new ways of doing things, not being afraid to try.
One thing that really hit home for me was his whole thing about finding your purpose, your meaning.
He calls it your North Star, something that guides you, gives you direction.
He talks about how he searched for his own purpose, tried different things before landing on acting.
And for him, it wasn't just about fame or money. It was about doing something that felt like truly meaningful, making a positive impact.
Yeah, it makes you think about your own North Star. What are you working towards? What gets you up in the morning?
And it's cool how he points out that your purpose can change. It evolves as you do.
Absolutely. It's not always something you're just born knowing. It's a journey.
McConaughey also talks a lot about staying true to yourself, even when everyone's telling you to be someone else.
Be you, unapologetically.
Yeah, and define success on your own terms. He even came up with that word reconnaissance, talking about his own career shift.
When he walked away from rom-coms to do more serious roles.
Exactly. Taking control of his own story.
Shows that you can reinvent yourself, You don't have to stay stuck.
Right, you have the power to change things, even if it means taking a risk doing something scary.
That whole risk-taking thing really jumped out at me. He talks about betting on yourself, not being afraid to fail.
He sees failure as like a learning opportunity, not the end of the world.
There's even a chapter called How to Get Arrested, which isn't actually about breaking the law.
More like breaking free from those limits we put on ourselves.
Pushing your boundaries, doing things that make you a little uncomfortable.
He's saying that's where the real growth happens, when you step outside that comfort zone.
And the payoff can be huge when you venture into that unknown territory.
Right. Makes life a little more exciting too, doesn't it?
Speaking of venturing out, what about his thoughts on spirituality? He doesn't follow a specific religion, but you can sense this deep faith.
Yeah, like a belief in something bigger.
He talks about having a personal relationship with God, which is open to interpretation.
And he's big on gratitude, appreciating the little things.
That shift in focus, from what's missing to what you already have.
It's about being present, finding that sense of peace and happiness right now.
McConaughey seems to say, you choose happiness. It's not something that just happens to you.
Right, it's an active choice.
Even when things are tough, you can still find those moments of joy.
Absolutely. You just got to look for them.
One of the things I really respect about McConaughey is how honest he is about his own struggles.
He's not afraid to admit when he's messed up, when he's feeling lost.
He talks about going to therapy, how it helped him, and relying on friends and family for support.
It makes him seem more human, more relatable, and it kind of gives you permission to be imperfect, too.
Right. We all have our stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay all the time.
And it's okay to ask for help.
McConaughey being so open about it, I think it shows strength, Like, it takes courage to be vulnerable.
Definitely. It's inspiring.
All right, before we move on, quick reminder. If you're loving this Greenlights deep dive, make sure you're subscribed to the Book Nook podcast and drop us a review. We love hearing your thoughts.
Helps other bookworms find us too.
Now, let's dig into some of those personal stories he tells and how they connect to his overall philosophy. Okay, so one story that really stuck with me, it was the one where he trades in his pickup truck, like his beloved truck, for this fancy sports car.
He thought it would make him, like, cooler, I guess, more attractive.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But then he's driving this thing, and he just feels off.
Not him.
Exactly. He missed his truck. The, like, ruggedness of it.
It's interesting, though, right? It wasn't really about the car itself.
It was about what it represented.
Yeah, like working on something with your own hands, that feeling of, like, accomplishment.